This week on Raw, we got the return of Puppet Watch! It's the first literal video I've dedicated to Puppet Watch in 2020. How cool is that? Because I think it's important. This week, we saw Mercy the Buzzard behind Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Now, obviously, Drew and Sheamus were talking about old times, talking about wanting to tag again, or Sheamus wanting to tag with Drew again. Obviously, last week we saw Drew was offered to join the Survivor Series team. He declined, so he's free at Survivor Series. Hint, hint, we knew something was going to happen. Last week on Raw, we saw Ramblin' Rabbit behind Randy Orton. And he was just doing a backstage interview. Obviously now, there's 2 puppet sightings in 2 weeks. Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre. What could that mean? Oh yeah, this week on Raw, they announced that next week will be a WWE Championship match between reigning and defending champion Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre 1 week before Survivor Series. Now this makes so much sense. And just to brag, we've been saying it on the channel now for 3 weeks that the match between Orton and Roman Reigns does not make sense. Heel versus heel. Both men are involved in huge stories on their brand. Roman right now is the tribal chief. I expect him to win at Survivor Series no matter who he faces. Randy Orton is obviously about to enter a story with the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. That's probably the biggest story in Bray Wyatt's story. So you can't have either one of these 2 men lose against each other. It just doesn't make sense. And also, heel versus heel, it's not something WWE tend to want to do too often, especially at a pay-per-view like Survivor Series. So maybe the reason Ramblin' Rabbit was behind Orton, the reason Mercy the Buzzard was behind Drew McIntyre is because the Fiend is watching. That may be the reason we got the Moment of Bliss tonight cancelled that was meant to have Drew McIntyre on, because again, it's directly screaming to fans that Bray and Alexa are involved in this story, whereas if you kind of forget about it, they hope, next week when Fiend does something in their match, it comes as a bigger surprise. Maybe. We know Alexa was there. She had a segment with Nikki Cross, so we know that it's nothing bad, hopefully. Obviously, I do 100% expect the Fiend, maybe even Alexa, to get involved in that Randy-Drew match next week. I think they're going to cost Randy Orton the WWE Championship, and I think that will allow Drew McIntyre to go on to Survivor Series to face Roman Reigns. And I think it makes sense as well, because if you're going to do Orton versus The Fiend, probably at TLC, maybe even the Royal Rumble, then you kind of don't want the title there, because you don't want to be putting the belt on The Fiend, taking the belt off The Fiend, and all that jazz, because people don't like that. So this is a good get out for WWE, and I think it would work. I think a title change on Raw next week is likely to happen. Nothing's impossible. We could get Orton versus Roman. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Like the video, share the video. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you as always next time. Peace!